You got paid today. You checked your account. The number looked fine, maybe even good. And then somehow, without any single dramatic purchase you can clearly point to, the money was just gone. Faster than it should have been, faster than you planned, faster than makes any logical sense. This isn't a budgeting problem. It isn't a discipline problem. The real reason your money vanishes the way it does is buried in the way your brain was built, and the system it was built inside was specifically designed to exploit every single one of those weaknesses. It starts with something most people have never heard of: pain. Spending money is supposed to hurt, not metaphorically, literally. In 2007, a team of researchers at Carnegie Mellon University, led by Brian Knudsen and Scott Rick, ran a series of brain imaging studies where they watched what happened inside people's brains at the exact moment they made a purchase. What they found surprised even them. When a price felt too high, the insula, a region of the brain strongly associated with physical pain and disgust, lit up. Spending money activated the same neural circuitry as touching something hot. Your brain was built to treat pain as a form of loss, a small wound, and for most of human history, that made perfect sense. Resources were scarce. Giving something away meant you had less. The sting was a protective signal, a built-in warning system that said, "Are you sure about this?" But here's where it starts to fall apart. That pain signal only fires when you actually feel the transaction happening, when something is real and immediate and physically present. And modern financial systems have become extraordinarily good at making transactions invisible. Think about the last time you paid cash for something. You counted out the bills. You felt the weight of them leaving your hand. You watched the stack get smaller. That sensation, that small, almost imperceptible moment of friction, was your brain's pain system doing exactly what it evolved to do. Now think about the last time you tapped your card or clicked Buy Now on a screen. No bills, no wait, no physical exchange. Just a tap, a beep, a confirmation screen. The insula barely responds. The pain is muted. And without the pain, the brake pedal doesn't engage. A researcher named Drazen Prelek at MIT demonstrated this effect in one of the most memorable experiments in behavioral economics. He auctioned off tickets to sold-out sporting events to two groups of MBA students. Students who understood finance, who had studied economics, who knew how money worked. One group was told they would pay by cash, the other was told they could pay by credit card. The credit card group consistently bid more than twice as much for the exact same tickets. Twice as much. Same people, same tickets. Just a different method of payment. This is the first invisible drain on your money. Not what you spend it on, but how the payment happens. Whether the transaction is felt or just processed. And the financial industry didn't stumble onto this by accident. The shift from cash to card to contactless to one-click purchasing has followed a very deliberate trajectory. Each step removing one more layer of friction between wanting something and owning it. But the payment method is only the beginning. There's a second force at work, and this one is older and stranger. Your brain has a very particular relationship with the present moment. Things that are available right now feel more valuable than identical things available later. This isn't a quirk or a weakness, it's a deeply embedded feature of how the brain evaluates time. Researchers call it temporal discounting, and it operates like a dial that gets turned up the moment something is immediately available. George Ainsley, a psychiatrist and behavioral economist who spent decades studying impulsive decision-making, described what he called hyperbolic discounting, the observation that people don't discount future rewards in a smooth, rational curve the way basic economic models assume. Instead, the discount rate spikes steeply when the reward is close in time and flattens when it's further away. A person who calmly prefers $50 next month over $40 today can, in the same breath, prefer $40 right now over $50 in 1 week. The math is identical. The feeling is completely different. What this means practically is that your future self is almost a stranger to your brain. The money you might save, the security you might build, the stress you might avoid, these things register faintly, like something happening in another country. The coffee you can hold in your hand right now, the streaming upgrade, the item already sitting in your cart, these things are bright and immediate and vivid. Your brain treats the difference not as a trade-off between two equal options, but as a trade-off between something real and something theoretical. And there's a third force layered on top of both of these, and this one is the one most people feel most deeply but understand least. It's called the pain of paying again. Not the first time, every time. Psychologist Richard Thaler, who would eventually win the Nobel Prize in economics for his work on this, developed a concept he called mental accounting, the idea that people don't treat money as a single unified resource. Instead, your brain creates invisible, separate accounts for different categories of spending, and it responds very differently to losses from those accounts depending on when and how the payment happens. One of the most powerful examples of mental accounting in action is the subscription. When you subscribe to something, you pay once, usually automatically, and then you consume it repeatedly without ever paying again. The pain of payment only happens at the moment the charge hits your account, often in the middle of the night when you're asleep and not thinking about money at all. After that, every single use feels free. The cost has already been absorbed. The mental account has already been closed. This is why gyms sell annual memberships at a discount. This is why streaming services prefer monthly auto-renewal over per-use pricing. Every additional use beyond the initial payment is experienced by your brain as free, even though the math says otherwise. And because use feels free, you tend to underestimate how much of your spending is actually living inside subscription structures you stopped actively choosing a long time ago. Now take all three of these forces together: the dulling of payment pain, the steep discounting of future rewards, and the invisible cost of recurring charges, and place them inside an environment that has been deliberately engineered to exploit each one. Prices are shown without tax. Shipping is bundled or hidden until checkout. Free trials end on a specific date your brain was never meant to track. Annual renewals are timed for months when you're distracted. One-click purchasing removes every moment of deliberate pause between wanting and spending. Reward points translate your money into a currency that feels earned rather than spent. Cashback creates the sensation of being paid while you pay. None of these are accidents. Each one is the result of decades of behavioral research being applied to purchase design. What you experience as a personal failure of discipline is, in most cases, a completely predictable response to an environment that was built to produce exactly that response. So what actually changes anything? Not guilt. Guilt fires after the transaction and produces nothing useful. Not willpower either. For the same reason it doesn't work against reflexes. You can't consciously resist a process your brain is completing faster than your awareness catches up. What works is reintroducing friction, deliberately, at the moment of transaction, not after. Deleting saved card details from websites, switching to cash for specific spending categories, adding a waiting period before any non-essential purchase above a certain amount. Auditing subscriptions monthly, not because they're necessarily expensive, but because the act of actively reviewing them reactivates the insula, puts the pain of payment back in the loop, and forces your brain to reevaluate something it had quietly filed under free. The money isn't disappearing because something is wrong with you. It's disappearing because your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do, inside a system that was built to point all of those instincts in one direction. You checked your account today. The number looked fine. Now you know why it won't be tomorrow.